Hey guys, hello and welcome back. I'm following up on another Kenneth Anderson story today, and this time from the book The Black Panther of Sivanipalli, published in 1960. And the story that I'm following up is the old Munuswami and the Panther of Magadi. For those of you who are watching this for the very first time, I'll just give an introduction about Kenneth Anderson. Kenneth Anderson was basically a writer and hunter based out in Bangalore from 1910 to 1975. He is famous because he has written a lot of books about man-eating tigers and leopards and also rogue elephants and bears. So that's how we all get to know about him. In this series, I try to follow up on his adventures and try to see where those incidents actually happened. So that's what this Kenneth Anderson series is all about. He was also famously called as Jim Corbett of the South. So that's how, because Jim Corbett was a famous hunter in the north of India, and Kenneth was famous in the south. So that's how he was fondly called as Jim Corbett of the South. With that background, coming to this story about old Munuswami and the Magadi Panther. Now Kenneth starts off this story by explaining about the Bangalore climate. So Bangalore is like 3,000 feet above sea level, and it has always been it's always known for its pleasant climate. Like it's not too sunny, not too cold, not too rainy. I mean, nowadays I think it's changing, but this story happened like when Kenneth wrote it was like in 1960s. It was a very pleasant, calm town back then. And it was also, he also explains how this Bangalore got its name. It actually got its name from, it is also called as Bean Town. In Kannada we call it as Benda Kaduru. So that's how Bangalore got its name. Before I start off this story, he explains about the topography of Bangalore, just around Bangalore. There are three main hills around Bangalore. So one is Nandi Hills, which was where Tipu Sultan had his fort. It was one prominent hill near Bangalore. There's actually, most of you would know there was a place called as Tipu Drop, which was a 600 feet sheer drop from that hill, where Tipu would throw off his people whom he didn't like or his enemies. He would throw them off that cliff. He would actually make them walk on a narrow plank at the edge of the cliff and ask them to come back. If they come back, I mean, they can live. But from what I've read, nobody lived. Nobody would be able to go to the edge of the plank and come back because it was slippery as well. So Nandi Hills was one. The second hill is called as Shivgange. That is actually a pilgrimage place for all Hindus. So it's a very beautiful hill. And the third hill is called as Magadi Hill. It is also called as Savandurga. It's actually right there in my background now, but it's quite hazy today, so I don't think it's clearly visible. So this is the topography of the land, and there was a dam actually back then. It was called as Tippagondanahalli Reservoir, and that was built on the river Arkavati, and that used to supply water for Bangalore. Now we have another dam. You can see the backwaters in my background. That is called as Manchanbele Dam. But this is a recent dam built in like 2007, I think completed in 2007. So now with this backdrop, there are several hills here and a lot of leopards. If you see near Savandurga and the road between Magadi and Ramnagara. Ramnagara was called as Closepet back then. So in this road there are several hills, and in fact it was the favorite haunt of Kenneth's son as well, Donald Anderson. So wherein he used to come over here and shoot a lot of leopards and bears. So coming back to this story, old Munuswami and the Panther of Magadi. This panther was supposed to be living in the hills of Savandurga. So that's where it was living in a cave, and that's how this story starts. And just to clarify one more thing, panther and leopard are basically the same, it's just different names to the same species. And even Black Panther is a leopard, it's again the same species, it's just a melanistic form of leopard. So the way this leopard started off is, it started hunting few dogs and goats near the town of Magadi and some villages around it. People didn't take much notice because it was common back then. I mean, it's common even now. But little later, it started hunting cattle, cows as well, milking cows. Recently an incident happened in the outskirts of Hills wherein 5 tigers were poisoned, and recently I think one more tiger was poisoned because they were killing cattle. People don't take it lightly when it comes to their cattle being killed, because they are very attached to that, and that is a major source for them because it provides milk and they turn it into ghee, butter, all of these things. So just like that, this leopard, the Panther of Magadi, it started killing cattle and in and around the village of Magadi, and that was the problem that the villagers faced, and that's how this story starts. All right, let's get going. I'm joined by my friend Pawan here on this ride. This view is a beautiful view of the Manchanbele Dam backwaters. That's the Manchanbele Dam gates. I think there's maybe 3 gates. Okay, there's some construction work going on. This is the downstream of the dam. Now this route goes through Savandurga State Forest. I've come here several times. Beautiful roads, lovely. There are also elephants in this forest. These are ancient forests. They need good protection. And I think they are protected to a great extent. There's a temple here in the forest. There's an old temple here and a old well as well.
It rained last night.
Yeah, maybe. I'm sure this temple will have a lot of history. You can see a tree has grown right inside this temple. A huge tree. So okay, let's continue. You should not feed these monkeys. but still people feed them. They think they're doing some service to these monkeys. In fact, they're doing a big disservice. Elephant crossing zone. They stretch through the forest maybe max around 5 to 7 kilometers, I guess. There's another temple here. Another ancient temple. Alright guys, so returning back to the story now. So now we need to understand who is this old Munuswami in the story. So Munuswami was a English speaking tall dark guy, and he was a shikari guide actually in Bangalore. So he would approach novices, or I think Kenneth mentions them as greenhorns, and he would go to them and tell them that there are some wild boars to be shot near Whitefield, or there are like some black bucks near Magadi. He went to these novices and told them that yeah, you can go and hunt them, and he would collect a nominal fee and charge them to help them guide to that place and hunt these animals. But black bucks and wild boars were just chicken feed for him, and his main trick was leopards. So he would basically tell that there's a leopard somewhere near Kanakpura road. He would go uh, to these novices and tell them there are leopards near Kanakpura road which are ready to be shot, and he would charge them some money, maybe like 15 rupees, to help them shoot the leopard. And in addition to that, he would charge like 2 rupees additional for his food and 3 rupees for bus expenses. So he would collect like 20 rupees from these novices, and then his first call was he would go drink a lot of toddy and sleep that day. The next day morning he would wake up and he will go to a nearby auction. Back in those days, they would confiscate donkeys and cattle which were left in open streets in Bangalore. So this guy would go, he would buy some cattle from them. Basically, he would buy donkeys from them for 2 rupees. He would walk it up all the way to the place in Kanakpura road where he mentioned the leopard was there. He would tie the donkey there, and after 1 or 2 days, he would himself kill the donkey. So he would make those wounds in the neck of the animal, which would suggest that actually a leopard made that kill. And then he would pull out entrails of the donkeys, spread them around, and then he had a master trick. He had a stuffed leopard paw, which he would actually take out and make imprints on the soil all near the donkey, which would give an impression that the leopard had indeed killed this animal. Then he would come all the way back and inform the novice hunter in Bangalore, and together along with the novice, he would come back to the place of this incident where the donkey was killed. He would actually get a machan built for this novice. He would charge, and he would hire like 2 more coolies for this, and he would charge additional 4 rupees for payment for the coolies, even though he did not pay that much to the coolies himself. They say he only paid 12 annas to them, but he charged like 4 rupees. Now, having done all this, when the novice is just about to sit on the machan to prepare for a night to shoot the leopard, he would tell them, ask for a bakshish or a reward of 20 rupees if the novice shot the leopard, and 10 rupees if he missed it, and 5 rupees if the leopard did not turn up at all. because he knew the leopard would not turn up anyway, because there was no leopard to begin with. So the next day morning the novice would be disappointed because there was no leopard, for good reason, and this guy would get 5 rupees. And then yeah, this is how it continued. He would offer the novice to tie another donkey bait some other place, and that was his business. He would constantly approach new novices in Bangalore, both Indians and foreigners, and tell them his story that there is some animal to be shot. Now his link to this story is this guy old Munuswami, he got to know that there was a leopard in Magadi which was troubling people and was killing cattle. So this guy got involved. He borrowed a .12 bore gun from someone, and he went there to Magadi, and he told the villagers that he has come there to shoot the animal. So like after a couple of days, the villagers informed him that the leopard had made another kill. This guy went, sat on a machan, and he shot the leopard high on the shoulder with the double barrel gun. So the leopard was hit, but it did not die. It immediately went into the forest and it escaped. Munuswami was not so talented as to follow up the leopard and even go ahead and kill it. So he just left it as is. He did not follow up the trail. And then what started was the typical things that happens. The leopard was injured and it actually started hunting more goats and dogs. And in a couple of incidents, when the villagers tried to rescue their cattle, it even mauled a man and a boy, and that's how the problem started. But this was an introduction about old Munuswami and how he is relevant in this story. So we are out of the forest here, and check out the majestic Savandurga. Look at how beautiful it is. Check out the view of the majestic Savandurga. In fact, there are two hills here. One is the White Hill and the Black Hill. In between that there is a valley, and that's where the leopard seems to have had its cave. Alright guys, so returning back to the story. Now three people get off a train late in the night at Ramnagara or Closepet, and they hire a jatka or a pony driven cart to reach their village, which was like 16 kilometers from Ramnagara towards Magadi. So I'm not sure of that village exactly, but yeah. So these guys, they came on that pony driven cart late in the night. The cart owner did not want to go back that same night because it was late already, so he decided to sleep in that village. And while he did so, he untied the pony so that it could go and graze around the village. And as the pony was grazing that night on the outskirts of the village, that pony was attacked by the leopard. It somehow managed to escape and ran back to the owner. The next day, the owner took the pony back to Closepet, and there he reported this incident in the police station. Now, as this happened, another man the next day was attacked by this leopard somewhere near Magadi. That man, after he was attacked, he was taken to a local hospital, and it was also incident was reported in the police station, Magadi police station. A local dafedar there with a constable, he came to the incident to investigate where this leopard had attacked the man. there was a lot of blood and all in the ground. He was checking that, and that's when a villager pointed out to a hill and said, you can see the leopard on top of that hill. So the Dafedar, who was a brave man, he quickly took his constable's bicycle, rushed back to the police station and got his .303 rifle and reached this place. By the time he got back, the leopard was nowhere to be seen. A villager said that the leopard might actually be somewhere on that same hill and he could go and take a chance. So what he did next was he actually, the Dafedar, along with a villager, went up that hill to try and see if they could find the leopard. And in fact they did find it, and they were surprised by the leopard because by the time he saw it, it was too close. And the leopard charged at the Dafedar. Dafedar did manage to shoot from his hip, but it was sort of a hurried shot, and he totally missed the leopard. The leopard in turn attacked him, jumped on him, mauled him, bit him on his chest and arms, and then because it was not at a man-eater, it got away. The villager ran back to the constable, he informed the constable, and the constable went back to the police station, got 3 more people along with him, and with a few villagers, they all climbed back the hill, got this Dafedar who was bleeding profusely, and got him down to the hospital. And the next day he was shifted to Victoria Hospital. So now, because a police was attacked, this incident became even more serious. Now the police department, they actually tried to get information about this leopard, and they learnt that Munuswami was the reason behind injuring this leopard in the first place, because of which it started attacking people. So they caught hold of Munuswami, and they told him, they asked a lot of questions. Where did you get the weapon? Did you have a license? Whoever gave it to you, did he have the license? A lot of questions in police interrogation. Now because Munuswami was and he was really afraid of going to the jail, he assured the police that he would shoot the leopard within 4 days, and he asked for that time from the police. So the DSP eventually agreed, and he told him it was 4 days for him, otherwise he would go to jail. So this guy, the same afternoon, he turned up at Kenneth Anderson's home. So that is how Kenneth enters this story. He was weeping and crying, and he told all that had happened, and he told Kenneth if he could help him shoot the leopard. Kenneth didn't care much about Munuswami, but he still agreed to shoot the leopard. But he told that Munuswami has to be with him when he is actually shooting the leopard. He cannot just run away. To which Munuswami readily agreed, and that's how Kenneth entered this scene. Now Kenneth took Munuswami to DSP's house. He actually spoke to the officer, and he told him 4 days given was actually not sufficient to shoot a leopard, because you might have to track it and you don't know where exactly it is. The DSP agreed, the police officer agreed, and he said, okay, you can take more time, but ensure that the leopard is shot. This Kenneth did not inform Munuswami, and he just told him the DSP wanted the leopards be shot in 3 days, but I somehow convinced him to give 4 days. So to which Munuswami was very happy. He just told that because he did not want Munuswami to relax and chill. So that's how Kenneth entered the scene, and Kenneth drove Munuswami in his Studebaker the next day to Magadi. And now let's drive a little further, and I will continue with the rest of the story. There's another beautiful temple next to the road. With a view of Savandurga hills. So now I will ride towards Magadi and Ramnagara road, and then continue with the rest of this story. We have reached the Magadi to Ramnagara road. So this must be, this is the road between Magadi and Ramnagara. We'll take a right. The next day, Kenneth and Munuswami, they actually drive all the way from Magadi towards Ramnagara, stopping at all the villages trying to get some information about this leopard. They don't get much information. They eventually reach Closepet, Ramnagara. They speak to the sub-inspector in the police station. They also speak to the Jatka rider, pony rider, and they get some information about the leopard. But nothing, but they don't get any fresh news. So they drive back all the way to Magadi, and they spend the night in the traveler's bungalow in Magadi. The next day morning, a villager comes to the traveler's bungalow and tells them that he probably knows where this leopard actually has its den. When Kenneth asks further, he mentions that just a couple of days after the Dafedar was attacked, he had actually been to the hill to collect honey, and when he was nearing a cave, he had heard a leopard growl, and he had also seen some blood marks. So because of which he thought the leopard actually lived in that very place. So that was promising news for Kenneth. So he decided to come over to this place. Check out this lake and the view here. Beautiful. So yeah, Kenneth decided to come here. He had breakfast and started off after 10 o'clock. He drove from Magadi. He said it was a less than 15 minutes ride. He reached a place on this road wherein he parked the vehicle, and he could see the valley from here. A valley between the two hills. So I'm just trying to find out a place where Kenneth could have stopped his car and entered the forest, because he says from the road he could see the valley between the two hills. And he said it was a 15 minutes drive from Magadi. So I'm just trying to find out where that place could be. Now Kenneth said that he drove on this Kanakpura to Magadi road like for 15 minutes and stopped somewhere. He parked his car right next to the road and started walking to the base of the hill, and he started climbing the hill. Now you can't be exactly sure where he parked his car, but that seems to be the hill in my background where he climbed. He actually for sure reached the base of this hill, and he started climbing this. Now Ali Muthu, the villager who told that he knew the location of the leopard, he started leading these three guys, with Kenneth following behind him and Munuswami at the back. So they climbed it. You can see it's a pretty steep climb from there. And they climbed the hill, and as they were doing that, after some time it was full of lantana bushes. So Kenneth says his hands and legs, face and all were bruised by the thorns in that lantana, and they eventually got into the valley. And once they did that, Ali Muthu pointed out that this cave was like 3/4 distance in that valley. So at that time, Kenneth went ahead and followed by Ali Muthu and Munuswami. They walked slowly and cautiously in that. Kenneth ready with his rifle. So as they walked through that, they eventually reached the entrance of the cave, and that was when they heard a light growl coming from inside. The cave itself had a overhang where there were old honeycombs, but no new ones, and the entrance of the cave was all covered with tall grass, just like this. So Kenneth could not see anything inside the cave. As he was contemplating as to what to do next, he heard a growl coming from inside. He knew it was at the very closer to the entrance of the cave. So now he had two options. One is to go inside and check, or he had to throw stones inside the cave. He decided to choose the second option, and he asked the villager and Munuswami to throw stones inside the cave. And they started doing that, and he was expecting the leopard to charge, and Kenneth was ready. But no charge came. They waited for a few minutes, and then Kenneth could actually see a light movement at the side of the hill, where at the side of the cave going upwards to the hill, wherein the grass was moving. Upon observing closely, he noticed the spots, and he knew that the leopard was actually making an escape. So it didn't want to confront them, and it was going away from that spot. That was when Kenneth covered the spots in his rifle scope, took aim and took a shot. The leopard immediately, catapulted out of the grass, jumped backwards and fell somewhere hidden in view in the grass. So they waited for 10 more minutes, and eventually Kenneth went closer and saw that the leopard was dead. His shot had actually hit the back of the neck and entered the skull and killed the leopard on the spot. And he also noticed that the old shot from Munuswami was also, it had also hit the shoulder blades of the leopard, and actually when exiting it had made a big hole, and the wound was actually covered with maggots. So Kenneth says that eventually that would have killed the leopard had it not become a man-eater in the first place. So that's how they killed the leopard. With great difficulty they got the leopard down through the dense forest there. That day by evening they had placed the dead leopard at the feet of DSP. They accomplished this mission in just 2 days of the 4 days that was initially given by the DSP for Munuswami. And that's how this story comes to an end. Those are some beautiful forests, and I'm sure there are a lot of leopards even there now. And I hope they're doing good. So there is a temple at the base of the hill, and check out how magnificent these hills are. I think one is called as the White Hill and one is the Black Hill. So somewhere in between the valley is where Kenneth shot the leopard, maybe on the other side. They climbed this from the other side, from the roadside. So a fantastic place. How many times ever I've come here, I get mesmerized just looking at this monumental rock. It's getting pretty hot now. What a rock, man. What a rock. Alright guys, so that's about it for now. I'm gonna head back to Bangalore. I hope you guys liked this vlog. If you did, do let me know. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And also you can hype this video so that it reaches more people. And also do consider subscribing if you like to see more of such content. Thank you. I'll see you guys on another one. Until then, take care, see you, and goodbye.